God is dead and we have killed him. Hi, I'm Henchman and welcome to My Thoughts on Media, working title. Some time ago, my Lord and Savior Super Alpert dropped a video where he goes into excellent detail explaining the wide appeal that made Chainsaw Man so popular. For all of you who would like to pause this video to watch his hour-long essay about Chainsaw Man, bless your heart. For those who ain't got time for that, here's my undignified abridged version. At the beginning of his story, our protagonist Denji lives in an alienated hell. Due to his father's debts, he ekes out an existence as a literal slave to the mafia, who not only abuse him with life-threatening work, but also harvest his organs to sell on the black market. Pretty bleak, ain't it? Well, it gets bleaker. One thing leads to another. Denji gets killed, makes a pact with Pochita, the little chainsaw devil he made friends with, and transforms into, drumroll, Chainsaw Man! Who would have thought? The terms of his pact? Denji needs to fulfill his dreams. Again, one thing leads to another. Especially wonderful displays of violence, our antagonist Makima appears and takes Denji in as a devil hunter, or else he gets killed. Now Denji lives in a foreign destined heaven, where he gets food, housing and a purpose. Moreover, time to formulate his first dream in life, touching boobas. But oh whoa Horatio, when he fulfills his dreams rather suddenly, he lacks accompanying fulfillment. Instant gratification leaves him with a sorrowful feeling of emptiness, since touching the Tetten lacks any emotional meaning for him. From here on, Denji learns the true meaning of Christmas and that the tits we want to touch are the friends we found along the way. Well, jokes aside, Denji ultimately learns that you yourself give your life meaning, and true fulfillment and self-realization cannot be achieved as a slave to a higher power. So much for my bad explanation of a modern masterpiece. And now that we're already on that explanation, let's finally get to the meta-narrative. The reason for this video and the theme Super Alpert didn't touch. Because in my opinion it can be easily inferred, it's just that little is said about it. So I'll start the conversation, and for anyone who's already afraid of spoilers. Aki becomes the Gun Devil hybrid, tries to kill Denji. Denji kills Aki, Makima turns out to be the villain, kills Power, Denji kills Makima, eats her, story is finished. Got it? Let's discuss Tatsuki Fujimoto. Is he a religious man? Well, here's a video of him trying to levitate in his room. Not for any kind of context, I just wanted you to see it. Kind of a weird guy, whose manga are brimming with his outlandish personality, especially recognizable in the one-shots he published between Chainsaw Man Part 1 and Chainsaw Man Part 2. Look Back is a deep dive into growing up to be a mangaka. Our protagonists, Fujino and Kiyomoto, representing individual personal problems such as imposter syndrome, social anxiety, the artistic ego, all developing into a greater commentary on the industry. The girls being surrogates for Fujimoto. Not convinced? Fujino, Kiyomoto, Fujimoto. You don't have to be Detective Conan to figure that stuff out. It is also an obituary to the infamous Kyoto animation arson attack I'm not really equipped to talk about, but if you're interested, look it up. It's a sad story. Goodbye Eri is a declaration of love for cinema. Fujimoto expressed the influence of movies on his creative work several times, and in almost every work of his that I read, we see the characters attend a movie screening sooner or later. Something Fujimoto heavily enjoys in his own free time. And his two weekly series, Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch, are full of religious symbols, the latter even exploring what happens to characters when they build their personalities around religious fanaticism. But Fire Punch is an existential nightmare that we'll need to talk about another day. Based on that, I'm going so far as to assume that Fujimoto isn't shy about portraying his personal opinions in his art. And Chainsaw Man clearly tells us, God is dead, we have ate him, and that's a good thing. Well, how did I get to my thesis? Fujimoto sprinkles allegories to Christianity into Chainsaw Man left and right, and not in a subtle way, to be honest. What follows are examples of obvious Christian icons. Devils as the main element of the world building and power system spawning from literal hell. An innocent choir of church boys being blown to smithereens. The angel devil. A halo of guts. The angelic hierarchy placed and name dropped in succession. Crosses, crosses, and even more crosses. Gustave Doré's illustration for Milton's Paradise Lost titled Satan on his way to bring about the fall of man. Do I need to go on? I will. But henchman, I hear a voice interrupting me in my explanation. Isn't this just cool iconography made to be interesting but without any value? I mean, it's a jump manga, they do that all the time, and Fujimoto himself made a one-shot explaining that nobody should over-interpret his work. First of all, no, this is not just self-serving imagery made to look cool. Second, how the heck did you get in here? And third of all, do you major in English studies? Slow down on the fancy words, man. The aforementioned iconography is not purely there for its own sake. It is clearly interwoven with the plot and character development in the manga. This is chapter 81 of the manga. In this chapter, all the threads that Makima has spun to put her plan to control Chainsaw Man into action come together. Preceding this chapter, Denji hit his lowest point. He killed Aki, and despair is eating him up from the inside. He doesn't understand his own grief, even though his body is showing active signs of depression. But like an angel sent to him from the heavens, Makima appears and helps him out of his rut, with warmth, closeness, and a tiramisu. And with that, Denji is satisfied. More than that, he wants to lose himself in this dream. He wants to be Makima's pet and never think for himself again. To put it in his words, I don't want to think for myself anymore. I only used to think about what I had to do not to die. Now it's like there are 10,000 things I gotta consider, and it's really exhausting. I killed Aki because it looked like maybe 100 people were going to die if I didn't stop him. But once I calmed down and thought about it really, really hard, I realized maybe there was a better way. Maybe Aki had to die because I'm stupid. If I'd never become friends with Aki in the first place, I'd never felt this crappy. There's no point in thinking about this stuff yet. It's all I can think about the moment I wake up, to the moment I fall asleep at night. You're smarter than me, right? So if I just do whatever you say, I won't have to think or feel distrained. You serious about this? You sure? My dogs have to obey me with complete obedience. Paw. Good boy. Well, I planned to hold a 5-minute long didn't I tell you pose, but not only was I informed that this is incredibly boring, pretentious, and a waste of all our time, an essay should also unpack and explore what Fujimoto is trying to present us here. Denji speaks of a time when it was pure instinct for him to survive. But as his life becomes more and more comfortable, he has time to formulate thoughts beyond that. And over the course of the manga, you get a clear read on Denji's inability to either understand or formulate complex thoughts on himself. And confronted with inescapable tragedy, it drives him to the limit of disgust. And in times of crisis, when people find it hard to understand their barely explicable suffering in a world of chaos, that's when they tend to turn to a higher power. Parallels with historical human behavior can't get any clearer than this. We too have broken away from the days of instinct-driven survival, but the critical thinking accompanying that freedom is something that presents nothing but grief for people like Denji. Lost in unbearable thoughts of death, unjustified suffering, purpose, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And then they turn to religion for answers. Religion serves us morals, ethics, solutions to dilemma in a simplified form, like fast food philosophy, so that we do not have to work out these thoughts for ourselves. Ignorance is bliss, as Cypher would say. But should we allow ourselves this form of ignorance? Well, if we stop questioning our gods, we quickly learn an important lesson. The gods can be cruel. When Makima kills Power, Denji's face short circuits. This boy, who has just decided to leave all thinking to his goddess, is confronted with inconceivable cruelty. She laughs at him. Everything Denji has experienced up to this point has been part of a plan to get something out of him that he doesn't really understand. Afterwards, when he transforms into Chainsaw Man on Makima's orders, this time the Chainsaw Devil appears in the flesh. Every trace of Denji disappears. Makima never cared about Denji. Up to this point, we don't know exactly what happened before Pochita, the weakened form of the Chainsaw Devil, met Denji. We can only trust the testimony of Chainsaw Man's biggest fan, Makima. She calls the Chainsaw Devil the hero of hell, a devil whose unique power erases any memory and record on the existence of devils he eats. Do you guys remember nuclear weapons? You know, this looming threat of nuclear destruction hanging over all of our heads, more real every day we live? Well, in their world, it doesn't exist anymore. Eaten and erased by the Chainsaw Devil. All this indicates that we are not simply dealing with a Chainsaw Devil, but the manifestation of a much greater fear. Probably the fear of being forgotten. Makima either wants control over her hero and this power, or to be eaten by him. As I said, it was never about Denji. It was about a much bigger power struggle that no mortal really understands. Even only a few of the monsters which partake in it really understand. And for them, humans are no creature worth wasting time on explanations. From this point on, there's a lot of room for speculation, surprisingly breaking the manga format by not placing convenient bystanders on the side which explain everything that's going on. I've seen and read theories that compare Makima to both God and Lucifer, which compare the Chainsaw Devil to Jesus Christ, which equate Makima's fight and plans with Lucifer's fight against God and the heavens. Whether there is something to these theories, we will not find an answer so easily, because the conflict does not end between Makima and the Chainsaw Devil. It ends with Denji. As I said before, who plays which role in this biblical battle between the Control Devil and the Chainsaw Devil is up to interpretation. I myself am convinced that Makima represents religion, since control is the age-old tool of the church. But this story is not about which god fights whom and what side we should put ourselves on. There shouldn't be a side. There should only be humans. And for us humans, or rather those who are not afraid to think for themselves, this battle has long since exceeded any reasonable logical framework. It must come to an end. Denji too has had enough. What is this conflict ultimately about? He has no idea. What he has is the power to end it all. Makima has no interest in him. She doesn't even see him, smell him, or notice any kind of presence. This finally gives Denji the chance to kill her and to eat her, so that finally every trace of her disappears. With Makima's control comes nothing but disaster. In this way, Denji emancipates himself from his cruel goddess. And I can't shake the feeling that Fujimoto conveyed a very simple point here. Religion has lost its purpose, and now that it only serves the purpose of justifying cruelty, we should maybe just forget about it. So much for that, have fun arguing in the comments section, smack that subscribe button while you're on the way down there, and we'll see each other in the next video. Peace!